Okay, well, right. So let's just start off. First of all, we've only just connected in the past probably week, 10 days through
Hmm.
Instagram. So could you just give a little brief intro as to kind of your, maybe your running background, a little bit of a small journey into running, and then whereabouts we can currently find you to follow your journey? Of course, I'll put the links down below anyway, but just kind of a little introduction to who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, my name is Oliver, and originally from Cambridge. Moved to London probably 4 years ago, and I've always been kind of into running, kind of doing like 5, 10 Ks here and there. And then I did a Bournemouth marathon. I did the Bournemouth marathon in October last year, which was extremely tough. Definitely underestimated how hard that was. Got through it in like 5.5 hours, so I didn't do as much training as I should have done. And then kind of recent events, the last probably 2, 3 weeks, I've been kind of told that I've been furloughed, which has just meant, trying to change a negative impact into a positive effect, really. And I've kind of just set myself a task. It's a bit of a huge task, to run a 100-mile ultra marathon. I've been looking at the Lakeland 100. It's cancelled for this year, so I'm looking at probably next year. So it gives me quite a bit of time to kind of build up to that. So over a year. But yeah, and I'd say the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks, I've really upped kind of the mileage in terms of what I've been doing training wise, some strength and conditioning, that sort of stuff. And yeah, like I say, I've started a blog on Instagram, Oliver's Ultra Journey, and seeing what happens, really. So yeah, I feel like there's been a few people that have been interested in the story so far, and I'm just happy to showcase how you can turn potential negative effect into being furloughed to focusing your energy on something. And in this case, it's running a very long distance. So I wouldn't say I'm a runner by any means, but I'd say the last 5 6 weeks definitely. Yeah, I'm seeing some results already and kind of improvements. So that's kind of my story, and what I'm doing. So what about yourself?
Yeah, so my journey started probably getting on for 2 years ago now. I made a decision that I would kind of from nothing, I would start running, and I
Mm,
set myself a task of running the Brighton Marathon. That was my first marathon I was going to do. So it was roughly, I guess, about a year. Although I didn't have any idea what I was doing, I started to just document every single day on
yeah,
YouTube my first runs, and I did it for myself. So similar to how you're documenting it, what I found is that in a year's time, or maybe before you do that the race for the first time, the 100 miler, you might go back and look at your first post. And I found it really inspiring to watch those first few videos that I did, where I was really struggling. I was getting it all wrong. I was
mm,
running in the wrong shoes. So I recorded it every single day on YouTube, and then the more I was putting videos up, the more people were engaging with what I was doing. I was picking up tips and tricks, and I was starting to kind of find my feet a little bit more with what that process might look like. And it's kind of snowballed from there. I went to Instagram a bit later than YouTube, and again Twitter only recently. But the idea behind my channel was just to document my journey. I'm just a kind of
mm.
average person. I don't have any background at all in running. I'm not particularly fast. I've had one injury. And yeah, it's just kind of the highs and lows. But I think it's really, really good. What you're doing is fantastic, just to show that anything is possible. You're starting
Mm.
from kind of the ground up. Yeah, you've done a marathon. You've done a little bit of running to date, but you've done nothing near 100 miles. So for
No,
anybody
no,
following, they're not looking at somebody who's been used to doing 50,
no.
60-mile races. You are a human being who has got a will to achieve, and they will see your progress over time, and they'll engage with that, which is just awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing for me, is if I can show people that it is possible, if it's running, if it's kind of work, or it's just giving a bit of inspiration, really, and just show people that if you set yourself a task, then you can do it. I mean, I haven't completed it, so it's, I don't want to kind of say that it's definitely something that you can do, but I feel like even the last 6 7 weeks, when I've really kind of put my mind to upping the mileage and training, it's definitely seeing results, not just kind of running wise, but just kind of having motivation for other stuff as well. Kind of, although I'm not, working at the moment, I'm kind of, working on a few different projects and that sort of stuff, and keeping myself busy. So, and I think just having something as a focal point, like I say, like the running is, you can look at their nutrition stuff, like you say on Instagram. There's so many different things where there's food pages that help you out. There's sports physicians and everything really. So it's there's a lot out there and there's a lot to digest. But I definitely say, it's definitely. I mean, I'm looking at YouTube videos on like Mo Farah and Bakaylee and all this sort of stuff. So it definitely keeps me busy and it's fun at the same time. I'd say it's not fun doing a marathon, let's put it that way. But the last 5-10K that definitely gets hard. But if I can just help someone else maybe kind of set themselves a task or a big goal, then that's kind of what I do. And I think the main thing is I can look back at this, in a year's time, hopefully when I've completed it, and just say, do you know what? I made furlough one of the best things that happened to me, really. So yeah, that's kind of that's the main aim for the blog, really.
And I think when I was considering my first ultra, which was due to be a few weeks ago, obviously it was cancelled. My thoughts behind it were that I also found my marathon, I've done 2 so far. I didn't find them all that easy, and I think it's because I was focusing too much on pace. So instead of just kind of relaxing into it, I was really, really focused on this idea that I'd finish in a particular time. Whereas the idea behind the ultra is actually it's more about just kind of consistency and slow pace. Obviously, there's guys up the front who are trying to win, but for the average person taking part, there is that pressure off you. I was planning to run probably a minute to a minute and a half slower per kilometre than what I was running the marathon. And that felt so comfortable to me in training that there was never a doubt in my mind that I could do it. My ultra was 40 miles. And I'd never done anything close to that before. And I was working through my training. I was getting towards kind of that 30-mile distance. And I found it so much more comfortable, the training for it, than the marathon training, which some days I'd come back completely wrecked. I would struggle through a training session, whereas this was actually just about enjoy the atmosphere around you. I'm sure your 100-mile is going to be a whole lot more interesting to look at than your marathon was. Whilst residential streets are exciting and there's a bit of architecture, there's people left and right, I've actually found that kind of just running out in the fresh air through the countryside is a whole lot more freeing and more enjoyable than my Brighton Marathon was.
No, absolutely. I think you're right on that point. So did you sign up for an ultra marathon this year? Was that a few weeks ago? Did you say that would have been?
Yeah, so I came off the back of my second marathon, which was last August, and I thought to myself, I want to do something. I wanted another goal. I'd already done the marathons. I hadn't been particularly successful. It wasn't like I was super rapid, but I just thought, let's try something else now. I want to document a journey to the next stage. And I signed up initially for a 50K ultra, which was local to me. And then that got cancelled within about a week. I'm not sure why. I still haven't found out why that happened. But then in doing that, I stumbled into a 60-kilometer ultra, which was also local to me, run by a smaller event company. And so I signed up, and then I kind of went from January this year, because I picked up an injury towards the latter half of last year, and that kind of put me out of running for October, November, December. So from January onwards, I started to explore parts of this ultra route, kind of just doing maybe 10Ks or 15Ks, with the idea that just before I did my ultra, I'd start to do like the first half and the second half. So yeah, that was the idea. But really, I didn't leave myself enough time to actually be that efficient when I was going to do the ultra. So it was just for me about completing it. And that actually made me even more relaxed. I knew that my goals of trying to do it in a quick time was never going to happen. I knew that I hadn't really had enough time to train for it. But what I was happy about was the idea that I would just run, jog, walk if I needed to, and just completely chill out, maybe listen to some music and just get the distance done.
It's definitely a long journey. I think with the marathon, it's kind of, although it's a long distance, you can break that up. I think, so the first 10, 20K, it's kind of, you're warming up to it. I think once you get to 35, 40, you kind of, your legs do start getting heavy, and then kind of that extra, even to, I haven't done any more than a marathon at the moment, so I'm kind of training to get to a 50k, and then I'm going to try and do a 60. And obviously, I know that I'm going to have to get to 160k when I go, when I think about it now, it's like, yeah, 160k is a long way, but yeah, I just need to break it down. I think even when I did the marathon on Saturday, I got to 30k, and then I kind of stopped for a bit. I had an energy gel, I had a couple of biscuits and that sort of stuff, just kind of getting the energy levels back up and going again. And it was really hot, so it was quite tough conditions. But I think that's the only way to tackle a 100-mile ultra, is to literally just look at the different segments. And I think that's kind of what I'm going to look to do. And kind of, the first 15, 20 miles literally has to just be, a slow pace, kind of get myself into the race as such, and then start breaking down, 10 miles, 20 miles and that sort of stuff. So yeah, when I do think about 160k, it does seem a bit extreme, but I like setting myself goals and challenges that are that are quite scary, keep you up at night. But yeah, why not? I think it's definitely yeah.
I think it's just so much better to set yourself a goal like that, because it kind of depends where you want to go. Some people are going for the short and fast, and some people are going for the kind of slow and long. And as I say, when I've been training for my ultra, my marathon pace was about 5:15 per kilometer. My ultra training pace was between 6:30 and 7 minutes per kilometer. From the back of that, I could do 4 hours, and I could come home and I would feel fresh enough. The next day, I could do another 2 hours. And so the mileage was going up. I was doing double runs, and I felt a whole lot better than when I was trying to blast out 20 miles up and down the pavement, trying desperately to get a time for the marathon. I just found that a lot. I actually also found it a bit of a chore. I just knew it was going to be hitting pavement every single night, trying to get the speed up, whereas this ultra was just all about see what's out there, and stop, tie your shoelaces, have a rest, sit on the bench, a bit of walking, eat some proper food rather than
enjoy
gels.
it.
And that's what it was for me. It was so enjoyable. I was loving the process. I'm just a bit disappointed, naturally, that it was cancelled. It's supposed to be postponed until September, so it may well go ahead. I'm not changing anything I'm doing with my training right now. I'm just, again, enjoying running, just chilling out. And if it does officially get put on, then I'll tackle on the day. It may be that I've underestimated this situation. I should be training really hard, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to enjoy running right now.
Do you think you're prepared now to then go out and do an ultra? If someone says to you tomorrow, can you go out and do an ultra 50k? No.
So mentally, yeah, I could do it. I would take a long time. I reckon it will probably take me, if it was a 50k, probably 8 hours. I would just relax into it. I mean, just behind me here, I've got my kind of training schedule. And the guy who ran this 60k in 2019, he finished it in 4 hours 30. So 40 miles, 4 hours 30. So straight away, mentally, I know I would never win the race, and that's obviously fine. And the reason why I kind of mentally get myself into that space is because it's not about me trying to race against somebody else. It's about me just against myself and just do the best I can. So I think if I had to do it tomorrow, it would involve a huge amount of just jogging and walking. I'd probably go 7 minutes per kilometer for the first, I don't know, probably 20k, see how I feel, with the idea that I would try and run faster from marathon distance onwards. That would be my plan, try and get to marathon feeling fresh. And that was my goal all along. I worked out where on the route the marathon would be, and I knew from this point onwards I'm going to start to hurt a lot. So I was trying to really get that last section nailed, so I felt very comfortable with what was coming up, whether there were hills or not. So I knew when I could relax a little bit more, because there was no doubt in my mind that it was going to be really difficult. But I felt mentally ready for it because I was very comfortable with being super slow.
I think, if you can set your expectations, realistic, then I think it makes it a lot easier. I think for me as well, kind of over the last 5 or 6 weeks training, I mean, I've obviously done kind of a couple of marathons and stuff, but I've also got a PB for a half marathon at like 1:41. So I'm seeing my recovery times and my actual kind of half marathon times dramatically increase. I remember I did the Richmond Parks half marathon in 2018. That was my first ever race, and again, I did have a slight knee injury, so it did slow me down. But I did that in over 2 hours, so that was 2 hours 5 minutes, and to do a half marathon in like 1:41, which I did a couple of weeks ago, it's just when you do kind of dedicate yourself to something, and it's hard because I think obviously most people are still working, and they've got kind of a full-time role. So I do have quite a bit of time to look at what I'm eating, having a balanced diet, that sort of stuff, and then training in the morning, and making sure I stretch in the morning and evening. So there's a lot that goes into it, but if you're in a similar situation to me and you've got you kind of sitting there playing the PlayStation, or you're kind of looking at things to do, or just continually watching Netflix, then I'm just trying to inspire people to actually do something that will better yourself, and it'll change how you kind of mentally think. Even if your task is to do, I've had a couple of people message me to say, I've done a 10K, I've done a half marathon. It's quite nice to just kind of see people that are going out and setting themselves a challenge, and and doing that. So I think there's definitely rewards in everything, really, kind of the last few weeks that I've done. So yeah, if I could spread that message, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And like you say, I think the story for you that 2018 is one half marathon time. 2 years later, you made significant improvements, but you didn't make those improvements after a week. And it's shown people that it does take dedication. It takes a lot of prep. We can talk about gear as well, and just talking about how you prepare yourself for it. But the big part of the story there is that you have to put the work in. You haven't just walked off the back of one half marathon 5 weeks later, having sat down, done absolutely nothing, you're suddenly 20 minutes quicker. It doesn't work like that. And that's where people need to see those highs and lows. That one day you have a bad day. You did 141 the other day. You might go out tomorrow and do it 150. These things happen. It's not about like every single day is going to be a PB. Some days it just works really well. You get out of bed and you just feel absolutely excellent. And other days you feel like it's going to be a chore. So I think what you're doing in sharing that experience is really, really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think that's the key for me, is just to show. And like I say, we see on Instagram, and I've done that as well, posting a PB or posting, that I've done a marathon, that sort of stuff. But if I can highlight some of the areas where, sometimes you have to get up at, silly hours in the morning and kind of put, 4 or 5 hours training in to do, an ultra marathon, or, I underestimated the power of stretching. I never used to stretch as much as I do now, but, I'll sit there in an evening and just literally stretch for an hour. I got that from David Goggins quite a bit, because he's literally the king on stretching. He's stretching all the time. So, but that's literally helped me so much in improving my times, and just being able to run for a longer time. So, that sort of stuff, kind of, watching what I'm eating as well. I have been doing a challenge. I don't know if you've heard of the Andy Frisella challenge.
No.
It's basically a 75-day. It's meant to be no cheat meals, only drinking water and coffee. This is for 75 days. No alcohol, no smoking, which I don't really smoke anyway, but no alcohol for 75 days. You have to do exercise every single day. And I've done that. So I'm coming up to sort of 66 days now. So I've got like 9 days, but I don't see any reason why. I think people can overindulge after kind of a challenge like that, but I don't see why, I'll go back to, drinking, all that sort of stuff, because I've set myself this challenge, and I've set myself this challenge. I think it's making sure that, I stay dedicated to finishing it, essentially. So, and I know that I've got, the Lakeland 100 next year. I think it will be in July. So it is a long time away, but I need to get to a point where I can do, I think, 90 to 100 miles plus per week. Probably 3 or 4 months before. So definitely a long way to go, but no, I'm happy and prepared to put in the time. So yeah.
I think it's really good when you find things that are working, you're seeing the positive results, you get yourself into a routine. I'm pretty comfortable now with the way I set things up in my life, the kind of things I'm eating.
Yeah.
kind of time I kind of go out and do my runs. I've tried to get everything balanced, but at the same time, as you'll know, the moment you go back to work, everything does shift. So where you've got the freedom in the day to maybe go out and do 4 hours, suddenly that becomes something that you have to do at 6 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's dark and it gets into winter. So it's just one of those things. But I think if you found something that works for you from a diet point of view, from kind of the recovery point of view, and especially with stretching, as you said, I was terrible. I didn't really even know that stretching was a thing. I just assumed, and I still sometimes do it. I'll still put my shoes on and just go out the door, and I get out the road and think, I've not even warmed up here. I've just gone for it. And okay, most of the time I get away with it. But even like yesterday, I came back and I thought, I really need to kind of foam roll here. And I put it off. And then I did remind myself before I went to bed. But by that point, I just figure I kind of just missed that window where it was critical that I should have done it. I feel fine today. But it's taken me a while to really get into that habit of stretching beforehand, after, recover well, and just treat myself with a bit more respect.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're all slightly naive to how much we do need to stretch, and I'm the same. But I think I've invested in some good running shoes, a couple of foam rollers, and just making sure that it's something that has to it's an essential part of running now for me. Because I've always struggled, and I've always had kind of slight injuries. If it wasn't my hip, it would be my knee or my foot. But stretching has literally changed that for me. So happy with the way things are going, to be fair. But yeah, I've invested in Brooks Glycerin as a running shoe, super comfy. And they're, as a road shoe, I can go for miles and miles. And they seem to be fine. I've only got one pair of running shoes at the moment, so I am still looking at, I think I probably need sort of 2 or 3 to kind of mix up. And they're not the quickest of shoes. I don't think I'll be hitting a quick time, but I think for me, I need to actually work out, do I really need to be going for a quick, half marathon PB, or I just need to look at the mileage? I think I'm still new to, I've only been doing this sort of thing for 2-3 weeks in terms of my blogging. So still new to what I'm doing, but I'm kind of loving, doing the research and the planning behind everything. So there's a lot more that goes into running than I previous thought. It's definitely strange. I feel like coming from, I've been a recruiter for 5 or 6 years within IT, and going from that to just literally full-time. I feel like I'm a full-time athlete at the moment, which is quite strange, but no, it's good fun. It's definitely I think for me, kind of having this experience, although I've been furloughed for 2 months, it's probably going to be extended. So, we may never have this experience again in terms of, kind of setting your own personal goals and objectives. So, if people have got time like me to do it, then, they may never get that opportunity again. That's kind of another reasons why I've said to myself that I need to make the most out of this, and just prove to myself that I can set a massive goal of 160k and do it. So yeah.
And we've been really fortunate. I know it's a difficult time, but we've been really fortunate with the weather, haven't we? It's been absolutely awesome, and has really allowed people, I think, to discover exercise. And I see a lot more people, especially around my area. It's quite residential where I live. A lot of people are out every day running now, and you see in the way people are running whether they might be new to it, in the clothing they're wearing. I'll talk to you a little bit more about Brooks in a moment, actually, because it's interesting you say glycerin. But I think for me, knowing that people have started to discover what you can do with running, and it's not necessarily about being the fastest, but more about just having that fresh air daily, spending time, if they can, with family and doing it, and it's a shared activity. As I mentioned, my girlfriend started Couch 5K about 6 weeks ago, and I'm going through that process with her, and it's been really fun for me to do those slow runs and to follow a bit of a routine of the warm-up walk, the run, the rest and recovery. I never did that when I started. I just went straight into it blindly. But
mm,
for me to see what it would be like to start that process from the beginning is actually really enjoyable. And I think it's really helped me to get into a bit more of a dedicated mindset into the initially walking when I go out for a run instead of just heading out the door, give my
yeah.
body a chance to warm up. And then in terms of shoes, so I actually put this here because I saw on your Instagram post. So I have the Brooks Glycerin 16. I've actually got 3 of
Okay.
these. So
Really? Okay. Wow.
when I first started running, I had a pair of Brooks Caldera shoes. They're actually trail shoes, and they're actually women's complete. I bought them off the shelf. I had no idea what I was doing. And then I discovered the Brooks Glycerin 16. So this is the shoe that I trained for my first marathon in. And then before I did my marathon, I bought another pair, which were orange, because I bought a pair of orange glasses and I thought I'd look pretty cool,
Yeah.
get it all matching. And then when I did my second marathon, I bought another pair. So for me, the Brooks Glycerin 16, absolutely incredible shoes, really, really comfortable. But like you say, they're not the quickest shoe. They are heavy, but I've never had an issue with them at all. And
No.
so whilst I didn't have multiple brands, I just had a couple of pairs of the same shoes that I started to rotate. I don't really use them a lot, other than just maybe a little recovery run the next day, but they are solid shoes. I never ran
They are,
anything
yeah.
past 16. I'm quite happy to buy an older edition and save a lot of money, but they're a really cool shoe.
So I think I've got they're the Brooks Glycerin 17s. But so when I did the October, when I did the Richmond Parks half marathon, I can't even tell you which shoes I had. They were bright yellow. I think they were on offer. They were like £35, and they weren't really running shoes. They were just kind of just an easy, quick fix, really. I said to myself, I raised some money for charity and I needed some shoes to kind of train in. But what I found out, and I actually went to the doctors because my knees were hurting so badly, and they couldn't figure out what it was. And kind of it was whilst I was kind of training for this half marathon. They actually said, "What sort of running shoes are you wearing?" And I kind of showed them, and they said, "That's probably a factor, kind of why your knees are so bad." They felt all jolty. They had no cushioning on the bottom. So eventually I went to Runner's Need, and had my feet looked at essentially. And they said, you need some support, you need some cushioning. And the Brooks Glycerin 17s have like literally been amazing because my knees don't hurt anymore. It's my feet feel comfy. I don't get any blisters. I've got blister socks as well. But they've definitely, I'd say, been able to change my whole, perception of running, and I've fallen back in love with it essentially because, it's not nice when you kind of get injured, and I think that's, it's down to the running shoes and that sort of stuff, and all the kind of, the gear that you wear. So, happy with Brooks Glycerin, but I think for maybe quicker races, I don't know. I haven't done too much research into kind of Nike's, Adidas, but I know that there's a lot coming through those guys. All my friends are kind of wearing. Is it the Nike like Vaporflies and the Nike Knit? I don't really know, but they seem to be releasing a new pair every week.
Yeah, the thing about those shoes, if you want to run a fast race, then you can invest in those shoes. They're about £250, some of them. However, you still need to be a quick runner. I'm not going to put them on and suddenly not half an hour of my time. And also, it depends what you're into. I've got no interest right now in running a quick time. And I'm spending a lot of my time on the trails. I'm not spending any time on the road. So really, for me to spend £250 on a pair of shoes that are probably going to last 60 miles, most people who wear them are going to wear them for one race or wear them for 2 races, or they're given them. That's just not me. But there's certainly a lot of companies out there right now investing in the technology and research side of things to build these carbon plates, propel you forward, which sounds brilliant. It sounds really, really cool. But for me, it just doesn't suit my running at the moment. Perhaps in the future, when I want to do like half marathons and I want to get my time down, I might look to other brands. But I've moved from Brooks into Hoka just because their trail shoe they offer, I found it really good. It's a slightly wider fit, so that suits me fine. But it's a shoe that I've spent quite a lot of time trying to find, and I've now, similar to
Mm-mm.
what you say about Brooks, the moment I stepped into them, I kind of felt like it transformed my running. But that's only for
Mm-hmm.
the trails. They're okay on the road as well, but I've not actually got any other road shoes apart from the Brooks, which I wear
Mm-hmm.
when and if I need to.
Mm. And it's quite interesting, kind of going back onto the point of kind of friends and family of running and stuff. I mean, I've never seen so many people active on Strava. Yeah, it just seems like everyone's going out for a 5K with 10K, which is amazing. I think I've had a few messages, and a few family have said, is everything okay? Why are you running so much? I think going from literally 10, 15K to then doing 60, but yeah, I've set myself the task of upping it. I know what I need to do to get to that point of being able to race 100 miles. So, but I think just to spread some positivity and inspiration, others are kind of doing a 5K and 10K. I think it's great. So yeah, and I think even my mum's been out for 5Ks, and my dad, which is amazing. So and I never thought that would happen.
Well, I think you're doing a phenomenal thing, and like I said, I think spreading that positivity and spreading the journey and showing the journey is something that is really remarkable. And you'll look back on it as I look back on my own journey, and I'm glad I documented it from day one. And I speak to the
Mm,
people who have said, oh, if only I had maybe recorded that first half marathon. And then you look back on it after the half marathon you did the other day, and then you see that difference, even just in the way you look and the way you're
mm,
talking about yourself and the kind of the reflection that you're having. So I know for a fact, having experienced it myself, you will look back on that first post you
yeah,
made, and there's some of the posts you'll look back and think, why have I put that up? I should have just
yeah,
deleted that. But
exactly. Yeah,
you'll be pleased that you didn't, because
yeah,
yeah, the way you look now, the way you feel now, the way you're performing now, over time, that will be just part of what made it even more special. And when you finish
yeah,
that 100 mile, you can post pictures from across the year saying that this is how the journey progressed. So
yeah.
yeah, it's just great.
Yeah, fingers crossed that that I do finish the finish line essentially. But going back onto the point of what was the point I was going to make? It's totally gone from me now. There was something that I was just going to come on to, but it's totally left my brain. Um, I can't remember what I was going to say. But yeah, I think just going on to if I can just kind of spread some positivity, I think that's it. Keeping my page kind of going back onto the content. I want to keep the page kind of raw. I want to just showcase myself, who I am, kind of, the background, where I'm from, that sort of stuff. And hopefully that can, that comes across, and it's just a natural kind of, page that people will see, oh, this guy's literally going from, a 9 to 5, recruitment role into challenging himself into, 100-mile ultra. So, yeah, I'm still working on kind of the content stuff and, how to put that all together and kind of filming and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to look back in 6 months to see everything and how everything is developed, and hopefully I'm doing a lot more mileage per week and that sort of stuff, and the content's probably a bit more clearer in terms of the goals per week and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and it gives me a focus to and a vision to look forward to, for sure. And yeah, a goal in mind, which is the main thing as well here. So yeah.
It's just great. And like I say, we've only recently connected socially online, but I know that if I continue to watch your journey, it's just going to go from strength to strength, and it's going to be really excellent to sharing that with you actually, and to be able to kind of
Mm,
comment and to see in 6 months' time that development that you've made. And what I'll do today is at the end of this video, when it goes live on YouTube, I'll pop the link down below to your Instagram. Is that the place where you're most active? Are you anywhere else on social media for your running?
yes. I've only got Instagram at the moment, so it's like I say, Oliver's Ultra Journey. I have been thinking about maybe starting a Twitter page, but I'm not too sure at the moment. I think just if I can get some content out through Instagram, then that's enough for now. So yeah, just Instagram for now. And likewise for you, I'm keen to kind of keep in contact and follow your journey if you're looking to bring down the half marathon PB time that you're talking about, or a marathon, or if you do get around to doing the ultra, then and who knows, we could be out running together at some point. I think another thing that I found, kind of connecting with people, kind of running and ultra, the community is it's great, and there's a lot of people that support each other, and I think that's another thing that I found here. And even once I finish this this blog, and hopefully when I finish the ultra, that I'll still be in contact with a lot of people, and I'll keep the page going, because there's so many people that are doing the same sort of stuff, and there's so many people that have their own journey. If it's not to try and beat their 5K time, 10K, then something else, and everyone's got their own reasons why they're doing it. So it's great.
It's absolutely awesome. Like I said, this community is very, very special, and I know that over time I've been able to connect with some phenomenal people who I feel very close to, even though I haven't actually met up with them physically. A couple of people I've been lucky enough to share a race or two with, but I know in the future, I think once all this is over, people will start to really appreciate that even more. And no doubt we will find a time to connect, and we will probably share a little bit of time together, even if it's doing some training. I can come along and do one of the long runs with you. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure our paths will cross in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, they will.
Okay.
They will, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely awesome. And like I said, I'm going to put social media links down below to your channel, and I cannot thank you enough for the conversation today.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's been great, and I'm sure we'll catch up very soon.